engineers have an ethical responsibility to solve complex problems and to try and make the world a better place. They do this by utilizing the engineering design process to develop creative ideas and deliver effective solutions. But do engineers work alone? Heck no, that would be absolutely impossible. Engineers have to incorporate knowledge from all sorts of different disciplines and fields to bring together projects that take years or sometimes even decades to bring into reality. To do this, engineers have to be very meaningful in building their teams and managing the process of their project from start to finish. Engineers, by working together, managing the design process, building a successful team, and really taking care throughout the entire length of their project, can achieve a lot more together than they ever could alone. Now let's talk about teamwork, because teamwork is super important. As the age-old saying goes, together, everyone achieves more. And that is especially true in the field of engineering. Let's show them, boys. 5, 6, 7, 8. Before we talk about engineering teams, let's talk about football. Now think to yourself, who's the most important position player in football? Is it the punter, the kicker, or maybe it's the left tackle? Nope. We all know that the most important position player in football is the quarterback. But if you took a team and you tried to assemble it with only quarterbacks, even if they're all the best ones in the world, would that team do well? Maybe in fantasy football they would, but in real life, that team would be obliterated. They would score 0 points every game probably and get utterly crushed. In football, to build a successful team, you don't want all the same people. You want people with specific roles and responsibilities. And you want a diverse group of people with different skills. You want small guys that are really fast, big guys that are slow and strong. Together, by bringing together this eclectic group of people, you can build a really functioning team that does well, just like the Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl a couple years ago and are going to do it this year as well. Joking aside, engineers work in interdisciplinary teams as well. It's not just engineers on a team. Engineers work with policymakers, artists, and designers to bring ideas into reality. As an engineer, you need to bring this group together with all these different skills and really maximize their potential by organizing them in a particular team structure. Given the complexity of engineering projects, engineers usually organize their teams into hierarchical team structures composed of leaders and sub-team leaders. The idea is that these teams can be made up of engineers as well as people from all sorts of other disciplines. The idea is to maximize the effectiveness of the engineering design process by distributing resources and the workload amongst all sorts of different people with different skills. By doing this, you can really bring complex projects to life. Let's meet a University of Maryland student that uses team structures to get the most out of their competition team.
Hi guys, I'm Tom Gleason. I'm a junior in the Civil Engineering Department here at UMD, and I'm also this year's project manager of the Concrete Canoe team. Every year, the American Society of Civil Engineers puts on a national competition to get us TURP engineers and other engineers from all over the nation and the world to try and build a concrete canoe. That may seem impossible, but with enough TURP engineers, we can get the job done as a team. The Concrete Canoe team not only has to build the canoe, but they have to field a team to race the canoe. And they also have to design a whole aesthetic suite around the canoe to give the judges an idea of who we are as a team. My role as project manager on the Concrete Canoe team is to make sure I know enough about each aspect of the competition to make sure we have a cohesive project at the end of the year. However, I don't have what it takes to manage each of those projects individually. So therefore, I need to make sure I have a strong team and team structure behind me. For instance, I need to have a structural team to make sure that the canoe can withstand the weight of 4 racers on the water. I also need to have a race team to make sure those racers are physically fit enough to have our prototype canoe stand out in those races. And I also need an aesthetics team to make sure that when we're not in the water, our canoe is really standing out with a solid theme. Now sometimes it makes sense to break those teams down even further. For instance, on our structural team, I may task one half of the team with making sure that our canoe is safe for our racers. But I may task another half of the team to make sure our canoe is safe for the environment, because terps leave small footprints. On the other hand, I may break up a sub-team and have them work on the same problem separately to create a diversity of opinions. For instance, this is particularly important when developing a theme on our aesthetics team. One half of the team may really want to do crabs, being from Maryland. The other half of the team may really want to do turtles, being from UMD in particular. Now, it's my job as the project manager to weigh those two options that they gave us as a team. Now, both of them have strong elements, but I think in this case it makes sense to combine the two into one mutant turtle crab, and that would really help us stand out at competition. However, the battle wasn't won at competition, it was won at the start by making sure we had a solid team structure.
Because we don't have the time to play rock, paper, scissors with every member of our team, and because fighting to the death is a bit legally questionable, engineers need a more fair and just way to assess which solution should be chosen as the best alternative. Engineers do this by using what's called a decision matrix. Now, the idea of this tool is it allows you to weigh different design alternatives based on different criteria to see which one you think is the best. Now, in this particular case, you can see we have several alternatives, and we're comparing them based on several criteria, which in this case include cost, time to implement, and overall reliability. By assigning each one of these alternatives a score in each criteria, we can figure out quantitatively which of these solutions is the best. Now, by looking here, you can see that we can also give a weight to the different criteria. So we might say that cost isn't that important to us, but reliability is really important, as well as time to implement. By doing the math here, which you can kind of look at when you pause your video a little bit closer, you can see which option comes out on top. And the idea is the one that has the highest score is going to be chosen as the best. And this avoids any rock, paper, scissors battles and avoids any legal questions related to fighting to the death. Decision matrices are a very useful tool for engineers to use. Let's take a look at a more specific example of how you might use a decision matrix in your everyday life to make a decision. Let's say I've been walking around campus all day shooting videos for ENES 100 and it's made me really hungry. Which is true. My tummy is a rumbling. I've assembled these 4 different alternatives here, and I'm trying to figure out which of these snacks I should eat to satisfy my hunger. The alternatives I got are this giant box of chocolates from around the world from Kirkland's, a good old-fashioned orange, a protein cookie from Lenny and Larry's flavored with peanut butter, and a couple pieces of chalk I found just sitting around campus. Now, let's say the criteria I'm going to use to figure out which of these snacks I'm going to eat is how healthy the snack is, how easy it is to eat that snack, and how edible that snack actually is. I'm going to put the decision matrix up over here and you can follow along. Now, if we figure out which of these is the most healthy, well, the answer is obviously the orange. That's by far the most healthy snack available. It's organic and full of vitamin C. Lenny and Larry's cookie, well, that's got protein, so that's pretty healthy as well. A close tie with that, actually, is this chalk. You might be going, what? How's that healthy? Well, it's organic and it's natural. It might even be from Whole Foods, so it's got to be good for you if that's true. And if we look at this box of chocolates, unfortunately, this is the least healthy alternative of all of them, especially if I ate the entire box. That would be way too many calories. So, because how healthy the snack is very important to me, I'm going to get rid of the chocolates altogether. Darn! That makes me really sad. Now what I'm going to do is figure out which of these is the easiest to eat. Well, if we look at the scores, the easiest one to eat is actually the chalk. I don't have to do anything with it. It's already ready to go. No cooking needed. The cookie is the second easiest thing to eat because I just have to open the package and it's good to go. And the orange is really impossible to eat because the orange is somewhere inside this protective force field of a shell. How do I even get at that? I don't have any tools available, like a saw or anything. I'm locked out of the wood shop today, so that's out. I can't eat that at all. That's just impossible. So I've now got 2 alternatives left. Let's look at which of them is the most edible. Well, if we look at which one's most edible, obviously the cookie. I've had this before, it's delicious. And they're not paying me to say that. The chalk, on the other hand, you might think, man, that's not good. It's not very edible. But And a surprise twist, even though the cookie wins a decision matrix and should be the snack I choose, as a teacher, I've actually developed quite the taste for chalk. And so I'm going to eat this as my snack.
Oh my God, what an idea!
Just kidding. That's not actually chalk. This is a candy made specifically to look like chalk from Iceland. And it tastes like licorice. Yum, that's good. As an engineer, by taking the time to build a well-balanced and diverse team with a strong sense of unity, good communication skills, and the ability to come together to make decisions, you'll be able to solve all sorts of the world's most challenging and complex problems. An added benefit of good teamwork is that you'll also have a heck of a lot more fun.